And of course, my big thing, which I can't really, I'm going to show you a couple little exercises that you can do, but intervallic movement in my head is just shaking things up. It's just moving different places. It's learning how to moving in and out, like, tying a knot with a spaghetti noodle or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but trying to do all kinds of different things like that as opposed to just playing up and down, up and down, up and down, looking for something else. Now, to get comfortable with intervallic movement, one thing that you can start doing is using intervallic patterns like this. Now, I'm in D minor pentatonic with the 6th and the 9th added, okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to play this pattern, and we'll have the tab for you. I'm going from 13 to 12 to 10 to 13 on the 2nd string. And you'll notice I'm alternate picking here. Now at that point, I'm simply playing the scale here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the 12th fret with my ring finger, and I'm going to play 12, 10, 13, 11. Then I'm going to play 10, 13, 11, 10. So what I'm doing is I'm dropping down 4 notes from each of the notes. So I'm going da 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 da, and so on. Now that's getting a little more on the diatonic side of things, but we can tab that out for you so you can see it. But that would be an example of an intervallic pattern, okay? A pattern versus a lick. Okay, so it's that idea, okay? But what I tend to do is when I'm meandering in intervallic playing, I have a tendency to play which really makes no sense whatsoever. It's just intertwining. Now, I don't do that the whole time, obviously. It's one of my levels. It's one of my clouds, so to speak, that I can exist on for a while and do things. So I could play something more, I don't want to say normal, but more movement average. I don't know what to call it. And then I can move into this intervallic stuff to make it more interesting. I love intervallic movements, even moving horizontally. Where I move around on one string or two strings. You see, so I'm not just going up and down, but I'm thinking about my interweaving. Of course, I'll use my whammy bar, for like depress it and get. If you don't have a whammy bar, you don't have to do stuff like that. You can just kind of flop in and out. Things like that. So those are really fun to play too. If I was jamming over this. See how I'm kind of just moving in and out, doing all kinds of different things like that? That's the fun of it. So as you're watching these last couple of weeks of footage, what I want you to really be thinking about is the creativity. We've been studying absolute technique things like your right hand, and then absolute things like, visualization of your scales and things like that. And then there's this whole gray area, which is why you're here in the first place, for most people anyway, is that ability to be able to create, to be interesting. And that to me are those levels. You're just always thinking if all you're doing is because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people when they play, they're trying to be creative, but really they're still stuck in a place where they're having to think about their guitar. They're having to think about the scale. They're having to think about things like that. So even though they want to create, their brain is still tethered to a concept. And so they're not able to get out of that. Even though they've been studying all of these different things, this one thing, whatever that thing is really not, it hasn't been, blossomed to fruition. It's not completely absolute. So they're not able to use it. So as they're trying to play, they're still tethered to that idea. So part of their brain power is still spent trying to go, well, what's the next note of the scale? Or what does the second position look like? You can't create with that. You just can't. You're going to be stuck to that for the rest of your life unless you let those things go. You have to gain that knowledge of that understanding, that first category. You got to see what it is. Now I can go in there and I can start moving around with all of these ideas. So these videos that I'm making right now, it's really important that you go back and you watch them as much as you need to. You know, write little bookmarks. Well, he was talking about this at this point. I gotta watch that again to really start developing those. So you see how it becomes less and less about how fast you are, or how many scales you know, and things like that. Those are all great things, and they're very important, but they're not the most important. The most important is that you can make music with the elements that you have. That's what you're trying to focus on.